What's up, everybody? It's Malachite here. Yeah, I know it's been a hot minute, hasn't it, since I did any recordings for The Division. Honestly, I don't think I've actually really done anything major for it since right before the first game came out. Not much on the YouTube in general either. Sorry about that. Anywho, I gotten back into the game recently. Been playing, quite regularly again for like the last month or so, I'd say. Somewhere between like the end of season 9 and the start of season 10. Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun. Inventory space is becoming a huge issue. I got way too many builds, but that's part of the fun. And speaking of, today I've decided to show you guys my new little pet project I've finally finished. It's taken me a considerable amount of grinding and countdown to put everything together, especially this bad boy here that just through some frigging miracle finally dropped to me through a random cache I don't even remember picking up. So I just happened to open it one day and like, oh hey, cool, there's the Picaro I was trying. Finding one of these with skill damage on it was an absolute nightmare. So yeah, for today I'm going to be showcasing what I'm calling my hybrid DPS build. I originally did have a little more armor on here, as you can tell. I had to reroll the Picaro and a couple others. I'm not. I'll admit right now, I'm not entirely sure that I like it without the extra armor, because the build is a lot squishier than it was while I was still piecing it together, and that's definitely an issue when playing solo or even in group play. But I mean, the payoff I feel like is worth it. So just keep in mind that, yeah, as you'll see with the centerpiece of what I'm wearing, this is like the embodiment of a glass cannon. So let's just go over real quick what I'm running. I've got, as you can see over here, I've got a grand total of 3 like directly, but I got 5 red mods total. Yeah, I've got 3 red, 1 blue, and 4 yellow, but I've actually effectively got 6 because I'm running the Technician, which gives you a passive skill tier, and I have 2 pieces of Brazos, which passively boosts me up to skill tier 6 at all times. Could have sworn oh yeah. So to start with the chest piece that I'm running here, I got the Sacrifice. It's got headshot damage and critical hit chance because I have a second piece over here, which I'll explain in a moment. I've got critical hit chance, skill damage. I slapped in 1 skill haste mod that's just like a hair from being maxed, unfortunately. And yeah, and the talent, which sums up the build in a nutshell: perfect glass cannon. All damage you deal is amplified by 30%. All damage you take is amplified by 60%. So yeah, shit's gonna hurt if you get shot at. Just flat out, especially given I only have like roughly 900, not even just under 1 million armor. It will not take long at all, especially enemy hunters, to melt you, so be wary if you're gonna try this solo. I'll go over some alternative suggestions at the end, but basically the idea here is you want to have skill tier 6, and then we're stacking as much weapon damage as possible, as well as skill damage, so that, to take full advantage of the perfect glass cannon, and yeah, just send a whole lot of pain downfield. Primary weapon, of course, is the Capacitor, which is an exotic assault rifle from Season 8, or I want to say it was Season 8, or maybe it was Season 9. It was added into the Summit, I believe. He's normally, if you don't get it, if you didn't get it from the Season Rewards track, I think you obtain it by reaching floor 100 for the first time, or something like that. I don't recall exactly how you... It might even be in the general loot pool. It's not... in fact, I'm pretty sure it is. It's not that hard to get a hold of one of these if you don't have one. But if you don't, good alternatives to... Well, let's go over the first thing. Okay, first things first, yeah. So it's got weapon damage. Oh yeah, of course, minor caveat as well. I do have expertise 10. This is the only item I've put expertise into really so far. but that is increasing my weapon damage like by about 10%. So it's got assault rifle damage, damage to armor, damage to health. It's an exotics. Those are all locked in. You can't change them. You can only optimize them. And of course, you can't change any of the accessories on it, or the attachments. Sorry, because again, the exotics are locked. But the main thing here, and the reason why I'm running it, is the talent, the capacitance. So shooting enemies builds stacks to a cap of 40. Each stack grants 1.5 skill damage after 5 seconds. Stacks decay 1 per second. And for each skill tier, you gain 7.5 weapon damage. This is why I've got this. This is the other reason why I have skill tier 6 and then reds everywhere. Because effectively, when you add it all up together, you basically have 7.5 weapon cores. Okay, for a grand total of what is that? So like it'd be like 15. This is 15, 34. It's like goddamn math. Anyway, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 85 or 90% weapon damage total, I believe, which is massive. Like, first and foremost, this is not. I know it says skill tier 6, but it's not technically a skill build, or not strictly. My whole point of my setup here is to actually maximize damage from the capacitor itself. My 2 damage skills down here are really just for like to supplement my damage with with a little bit of burst and utility. But the bulk of your damage is going to be coming from the capacitor, which is also why I've optimized it. And I love this gun anyway. Like, this is one of the sweetest weapons they've ever put in the game, in my opinion. Okay. And as my secondary / backup weapon, I'm running the named assault rifle. I believe it's a G36C. I'm not sure on the exact model on that. Anyway, it's the mechanical animal. And the main reason we're running this is for the talent Future Perfect. So yeah, Future Perfection. So yeah, weapon kills grant 1 skill tier for 19 seconds. The default, I think, on the regular talent is 10. Let's actually go double check that real quick. Just bolt out of the firing range. We'll come back there in a second. And I went the wrong way. So we go to the talent list. Where is... Yeah. Yeah, okay, no, so default's 15 seconds. Okay. For now. Okay. But with this bad boy, you get an extra 4 seconds, which, believe me, it does matter. You do want that little bit of... sorry. Yeah, so you get, so basically, because we're at skill tier 6, the instant you get a kill with this thing, you're granted overcharge for 15 seconds. And it's got a cooldown of wait, that's actually highlighted too. The cooldown is 90. I thought it said it was also 90 in the regular version. Huh. Where is... Yeah, it is. That's weird. I don't know why that's in yellow. When the default it's not actually reduced. I wonder if that's a bug. Anyway, so you don't really want to be using the mechanical animal, except, like I said, every 90 seconds for that kill, just to grant overcharge on one of your 2 skills. Which, again, because the overcharge itself doesn't last very long either. Including, I believe it actually, even on something like a drone, if you activate like the turret, like say like the striker drone with overcharge active, it will wear off and it'll go back to whatever its default stats are once the buff is gone. So it's really bad. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So it's really best for like fire and forget skills like the sticky bomb. Yeah, and even though like my damage is kind of decent on it because I have all my red cores, it doesn't have like the extra damage like the capacitor does for stacking all your yellows. So like there is, I mean, even ignoring my expertise on there is a significant difference in DPS on these. Which is also why I have I modded it for swap speed, because I basically want to use get a kill real quick, hit overcharge, and then switch back to the capacitor. So I can start shooting enemies and build up. You have just barely enough time to empty the magazine, actually. I think you have like 4 4 or 5 seconds on average, roughly, like after swapping and firing the capacitor or something. You should reliably be able to get between like 20 and 25 stacks to build up a decent damage bonus before you run out of time to fire your skills. But keep in mind, yeah, it's not just emptying the magazine of the target. You also still have to activate your skills while all those buffs are stacked. And the reason we want to do that is, let's take the sticky bomb for an example. Now, it does not get the biggest damage boost, but if we go down here, so there it is at skill tier 6. It's got what, 60 damage, 70 radius, 90 skill haste, which is pretty nice. But when it's overcharged, the damage goes up by 20, which is effectively 2 skill tiers. But look at the blast radius; it jumps from 70 to 200%. So right now, the way I have mine set up right now, I've got a total of 5.1 meters. Now I think that's factoring in the base, so it's actually not going to be quite as huge as I thought. But even so, when you get that 200%, it jumps to like between 12 and 13 meters or something ridiculous. It's a massive explosive area. So you can potentially just wipe out like a whole group of enemies or leave them severely crippled. It's pretty sweet. And then the other skill I run is the Oxidizer. So if we look here, with its overcharge, the radius goes from plus 12 to plus 100%. And believe me, it's huge. It is a absolutely massive death cloud when this thing is overcharged. And because of the way this, you get multiple shots and they fire pretty quickly. If you're fast enough, you can get a decent stack up with the capacitor and probably pop off like 4 or 5. If you're lucky, I'd say on average 3. If you're really quick and slash lucky, maybe you can get like 5 shots off with this and just completely cover an area in death. The damage goes up an okay amount, I believe, too. What is that? 40, 60. Yeah, actually it does. No, yeah, it does go up. Okay, it's hard to see on my screen. Yeah, it goes up to 80. And the duration goes up another 30%. Yeah, so you're basically gaining, like excluding the radius boost, you're like with the sticky bomb, you're basically gaining like 2 more skill tiers from the overcharge. So for effectively skill tier 8, which is kind of nutty. Alright, so let's go over the rest of the items. So, yeah, like I said, this took me a very long time to put together in a considerable amount of luck. So if you're going to attempt this, just be wary that this is not a build that's easy to put together by any stretch, just because it's extremely luck dependent. It took me forever to get all these pieces rolled with skill, damage, and critical hit chance. Speaking of, real quick, just disclaimer, I do not have max shade level. So not all my stuff is maxed out. In fact, I'm still missing the last little bit of crit, which is annoying. But once I do max that out, and I do have a maximum crit chance mod in here, and like if I finish optimizing all my stuff, get my max shade and everything, look at my critical hit chance for my capacitor, it's sitting at 57.9. That will just barely cap at 60% when all's said and done. So yeah, you are gonna want like your at least your crit chance maxed out and either skill haste or damage. Well, yeah, preferably skill haste first, then damage on your shade to get the most out of this. Yeah, so here I have a Fenris mask. That's primarily for the 10% assault rifle damage to boost our capacitor and mechanical animal. I re-rolled the core attribute to skill tier. It rolls weapon by default, and it's got skill chance, skill damage, and I've got my like I said, my maximum critical hit chance on here. And you already saw here, sacrifice, just what I had before. Okay, weapon damage, crit chance, skill damage, and I put a skill haste mod. The Picaro, this thing was a pain in the butt to get, as I said. I found like a good number of them. It took me forever to find one with skill damage, and I got lucky that this had like a fairly high roll on it too, so I only have to optimize it a bit more. And of course, the weapon damage, which is the featured attribute on it, is always maxed out. If you like, you could also just leave the armor on here if you're finding survival is an issue. So And then the other major thing holding this all together is the Memento Exotic Backpack. Now, thankfully, this one is not hard to get because it's in the general loot pool. There's no quest involved. So if you're missing one of these, like it's arguably the best exotic in the the best item in the game. Period. Like this thing is stupidly broken. I'm kind of amazed they haven't nerfed it. Not that I necessarily want them to. I'd rather they buff other options, you know, to increase build diversity rather than restrict it. But the Memento is like bonkers overpowered. So mine is thankfully it wasn't quite maxed out when I got it, but it was really close. So thankfully didn't cost me much to optimize it. Anyway, it's got weapon. You know, you get three. The whole thing point is you get 3 cores on here. You know, you get one of each attribute. So it is giving me thankfully a look because without this, my armor would really be crap. I'd probably die in like 2 hits. And it helps hold everything together. Because if we go down to the talent, so the talent is kill confirmed. Enemies you kill drop a trophy on death. Collecting trophies provides both a short and long-term buff. The first of which scales with the number of core attributes equipped and lasts for 10 seconds. So like whenever you kill an enemy on the ground, you'll see like a little drop with like an orange beam of light, just like when you find pretty much it looks identical to when you find specialization weapon ammo on the ground. So you pick those up, and then for every red core, which we have 3, you temporarily gain 5% weapon damage. So that's another 15% weapon damage, which is pretty good. It's not amazing, technically. Okay, but it is still quite good. Like it's a free 15 weapon damage for every kill. You gain 10% bonus armor, and keep in mind that these keep stacking too. I forget how much, like you can keep adding bonus armor, but I believe it caps up to a point. I'm not sure. Don't really have any footage. Like this is all like kind of a live hot take, so I don't have footage prepared. Sorry, but I know from experience I've picked up multiple trophies and gotten like I don't have much base armor to work off of, so I don't get much period like on this build to begin with. But I have noticed like getting multiple blue squares stacking before I got shot at. So it's weird. It doesn't actually state what the cap is for the temporary buff. Huh. I could just be wrong, but anyway. And then, so then the long-term buff, which is the more important one, frankly, is for every trophy collected, you gain an additional 1% weapon damage, 1% skill efficiency, and 0.1% armor regeneration for 5 minutes. And the maximum for that is 30 stacks. That's for the long term. I don't think that's for the short. I'm pretty sure that's only for the long-term buff. So once this bad boy is capped out, of course that's 30 more weapon damage, which is nutty because that's stacking with glass cannon and everything else. So the capacitor damage just goes up even more. Gaining a tiny bit of armor regen. So in my case, I've got just under 1 million armor. So that'd be like another 90k a second. Just nothing. Frankly, that's all right. No, sorry, another 9,000 a second. It's pointing now. No, that's 900 a second, right? Because math. 10%. No, 90k would be 10. 9,000 is 1. Yeah, another 900 armor a second person. But like per stack though, so it's actually more than that once. It's a considerable amount of regen. It's actually pretty damn sweet. Okay. Oh, right. Just real quick, if you don't know what skill efficiency does, basically it's kind of like weapon handling. It's like a generalized stat. So like for every point of skill efficiency, you're basically getting 1 more healing, 1 more skill haste, and 1 more damage. I don't think it affects incoming repairs. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, it's repair, haste, and damage. So it's like a general super stat for skill builds, which is of course amplifies your skills even further, makes them come back quicker. It's nutty once you get up and running. And then with the gloves, that's my second piece of Brazos. And I'm doing that so that I get an additional skill tier for free for my brand sets, which allows me to equip more red cores. Again, if you're finding you're having issues with this, you could just leave it to blue, but the whole point of this is to be all in on the damage. I'll go over the alternative options for this style of build at the end. And the third, I briefly contemplating taking the third piece for the magazine size, but the default magazine on the capacitor is only like around like 40 bullets. Yeah, it's 41 rounds. So you'd only be getting another 8 bullets in the magazine. It's honestly not worth it. And then for my knee pads, I have another Providence piece because I have to go with the Sacrifice. And the reason for that is because it gives me an extra 10% crit chance, which if I didn't have, I would not be able to hit the cap of 60%, the critical hit cap of 60%. I tried messing around with a few other things, like I thought about because the Grupo Sombra one piece bonus is 15%. I also considered the Wyvern Wear for 10% skill damage. I felt like because the focus is on the capacitor and it's already got like crit modded on it, I believe it has a 30%, one of its mods is 30% crit damage. I think it's on the, where is it? Yeah, it's on the muzzle. So yeah, just to get the most out of it, I wanted to make sure my crit chance was capped. And you literally cannot cap crit without that bonus active. And once again, it's got weapon damage, skill damage, and crit chance. And I could, like I said, a lot of my pieces are not optimized, so I could get considerably more skill damage out of all this once it's all said and done. Sorry about that. No, and for my sidearm, I've got the TDI card custom, just because it's in fact, if you wanted to be kind of janky and like you could actually use this, change the talent to future perfect, and then just get a few quick kills with the pistol to kind of cheese things to build up to the overcharge. But I feel like that's too much work. I'd rather just passively have the skill tier 6 to begin with. All right, so let's go. Let's go the range here and just showcase what this thing can do. So look at my sticky bomb real quick. The damage is 3.5 million damage. Sorry, this video is running a little long now. 3.5 million damage by default, 51 meter radius. Okay. Actually, I think I'm gonna hang on. I'm just gonna leave this on easy just so I can get the kill quickly. Oh, you actually can't put this one up to named. Interesting. So we'll just get it. Okay. I'm actually just gonna mow these idiots down real quick. I don't know why. Can I not reset this thing? Ah, there we go. That's better. Wait, why are they still... Weird. Okay, doesn't matter. I just want to make sure there's one red guy to kill. So, just pop him off. Potato aim. Okay, there. Future Perfect is now active. I've got overcharge. Let's just build that up. Okay, and then before it wears off... Boom. What? That was garbage. What the hell? I swear I did this earlier, and I had a way better result, because I wanted to show you, like, I had like an absolutely colossal amount of damage off that sticky bomb. So oh, great! Yeah, no, now I got the 90-second cooldown. Awesome. I should have just saved the footage from earlier. That's hilarious. I screwed myself. Anyway, yeah, so when I was hoping to show you guys live, but when I was screwing around with this earlier, my damage on almost doubled. Like it went from 3.5 to over 6 million with the overcharge buff active. It was absolutely insane. Bear with me, I just need to wait. So while we're waiting for the mechanical animal to cool down so I can get overcharge again, and then I can show you this the Oxidizer, we can go over the other options real quick. So one of the nicest things about this build is because I'm at skill tier 6, effectively any skills you want are viable, just about. Although I don't recommend using the shield. Whatever you decide to use will by default be maxed out, which is great. Just be aware though that since I'm running the Technician, the Banshee pulse is going to be unavailable for which is typically the go-to for stunning hunters, so just be aware of that. If for some, you could switch to gunner class if you really want that skill, but then you'd have to equip one more skill tier item in order to make this work. You'd be losing weapon damage. It's up to you if you want to make that trade-off or not. The only other thing I would caution people to is with using things like the hive, the turret, or the drone, you know, like, or seek anything, any sort of deployable skill like that. Just be aware that if you decide to use that in something like Countdown, the hunters can and will hack your stuff, and that's going to end very badly for you and your team. Yeah, so I would not recommend that. Okay, looks like it's cooled down. So switch over. So there's the default radius for my Oxidizer. You can see it's still pretty good, right? That's a pretty big area. Now, if we get a kill, activate overcharge. Now look at it. Look how massive that field is. Like, that's ridiculous. It's just an absolutely huge death cloud. And the duration goes up a good chunk too. Yeah, okay, finally. So that was about, what, 15 seconds roughly? That thing is just ticking away, hitting. The reason I use the Oxidizer, honestly, primarily is just to force NPCs out of cover. I mean, it will hurt them, but you typically, they'll, like, as soon as they start taking damage from it, they'll just run away. Which is the main, which is honestly what you want. Speaking of, yeah, I had briefly considered using things like the Fox Prayer and the Contractor's Gloves for their bonus, you know, for the out of cover and armor bonuses, but I'm not sure if those work with skill damage. And frankly, I didn't think they were worth it over the set bonuses I have. So, but you can do this. Alright, and real quick, just to wrap this up, if you're looking for alternatives, especially like a less squishy variant, instead of running the Sacrifice, I mean, you could still use another chest piece with the regular glass cannon talent, because you're only dealing 5% less amp damage, but then you also only take 10%, or sorry, 50% more damage in total, so it's 10 less. So you're not as squishy. But you probably, yeah, I mean, you might as well just not bother at that point and use something else, like maybe Spotter on a King Breaker, so that you have or no, sorry, not Spotter, right, because your whole range faster. Oh yeah, the alternate weapons too. Another good alternate weapon for this, if you don't like or don't have the capacitor. The test subject is pretty good because the talent's got perfectly in sync, so hitting an enemy grants 20 skill damage for 5 seconds. Using a non-shield skill or damaging enemy with the skill grants 20% weapon damage for 5 seconds, and then damage increases are doubled with while both buffs are active at the same time. So, you know, like you shoot them, hit them with maybe like the cloud. I wouldn't definitely don't use the sticky, pop the Oxidizer first so that you get both effects procced. Then you've got 40 weapon damage and skill damage, and at that point I would fire off the sticky bomb. With so it's got the total of 40% on there. But frankly, that's kind of annoying, and I really like that the capacitor is just on all the time, passively build stacks as well, effectively giving you the same bonus once you build up to 40%, and you don't have to worry about it dropping off unless you can't, for whatever reason, run out of things to shoot. It's just it just stays active as long as you keep shooting. Let's just look for alternative talents you could use for the chess piece. I believe tag team is a good one. If I can find. Where are you? Yeah, oh, it's right there. Yeah, so the last enemy you have damage with the skill's mark, dealing weapon damage to that enemy consumes the mark to reduce active cooldowns. So that's nice if you just want to get your stuff back. Kinetic momentum is also interesting. right? So when all combat, each skill will generate a stack while active and not on cooldown, and then stacks increase total skill damage by 17%. Sorry, by 1%, and total skill repair by 2%, up to 15 stacks per skill. But you lose it as soon as you fire one of them off. Just trying to think of other similar abilities. No, not focus. That's total weapon damage. Also requires different weapon types. Spark is another interesting one too. You can actually use, because then when you pop them with your skills, it'll increase your weapon damage. It's actually is pretty good. The two alternate skills I would recommend most are probably Spark and Tag Team. Kinetic Momentum is not bad, but I prefer Spark. I prefer either Tag Team or Spark. And then as far as like what kind of brands you would want to run, I think I have a piece on me. You probably want to run Empress. Where are you? Do I have a mask on me? Huh. I apparently don't have any on me. Thought I had at least one. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, so the Empress brand set gives you skill health for the first piece, which is, I mean, that's actually good if you want to run something like the Defender drone, especially if you have like tier 6, because then it was actually one of the first things I considered was to run just like a passive, something like the deflector drone, and then like make maybe the turret or something, basically like as much fire and forget stuff as you can use so you can focus on your gunplay. Or even possibly like if you really want to double down, you could also run the shield along with the drone, but then you get restricted on your weapons. So you get skill health, skill damage. It's for 2 pieces, and then the third piece is skill efficiency, which, as I mentioned before, gives you more damage, more haste, and more skill repair, which is pretty sweet. But that also creates problems, right? Because then if you're running Memento, that's 4 pieces right there, which means you got to cut something somewhere else. You won't be able to have, and likely the Fenris. But that is an option. And there was, oh right, sorry, the other item worth considering, either personal preference or if you don't have the capacitor, is the Surge. Is another really good weapon. It's a named rifle, and the Talon is perfect spike, so headshots give you 25% skill damage flat for 15 seconds with no cooldown. Which, if you're running hybrid, that actually would make it a good pairing with the Fox. I believe it's the Fox Prayer. Do I not have one? Yeah, because that'll give you more rifle damage right there, and then the nice damage at a cover bonus. So that's gonna do it. I don't have any gameplay. Really to show other than what we went over. I'll post maybe in the comments later after I've tried this out on Heroic or Legendary just to see how it handles. It should be okay. The main thing to keep in mind again is that you are super squishy with this setup, and you will fold real quick once they start focusing on you. So this is not like a great solo build option at least not while you have the perfect glass cannon. You'd have to change to a different body piece entirely. But then it's that also defeats. Well, it doesn't totally defeat the purpose of the build, but it does take a big bite out of it. Overall, big fan of the hybrid styles they've enabled lately. Hoping that the season 11 when we get it adds more skill friendly brand sets and whatnot. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.